Level 1. The Grenadier.
You're 19. 3 months ago, you were working in a factory in Stuttgart. Now, you're standing in a trench somewhere in Belarus with a Kar 98K rifle, 60 rounds of ammunition, and a mass-produced uniform that's already falling apart. You make 30 Reichsmarks a month. That's less than a factory worker back home. But you get free food, free lodging, and free bullets. The Reich provides. Your squad has 10 men. You know 3 of their names. The Unteroffizier running your squad doesn't care if you learn the others. Half of them will be dead or wounded within 6 months anyway. Your job is simple. Follow orders. Carry your rifle. Don't freeze to death. The thermometer reads -36 Celsius. Your boots are too tight for extra socks. When they get wet during the day, they freeze solid at night. You stuff newspapers into your jacket for insulation. You watch a man in your platoon lose 3 toes to frostbite. He screams when the medic cuts them off with no anesthesia. The medic doesn't wash his hands first. Nobody has soap. You survive the winter. That makes you lucky. You're promoted. Level 2. The Gefreite. You're 20 now. 1 year of combat. You've been promoted to Gefreite, which means Lance Corporal. Your pay goes up by 3 Reichsmarks. You're now making 33 marks a month to get shot at. You're no longer the new guy. You know how the system works. You know which officers will get you killed and which ones might keep you alive. You know to trade cigarettes for bread with the supply troops. You know to sleep with your rifle inside your coat so the bolt doesn't freeze. The new replacements look at you like you know something. You do. You know that 80% of German military deaths happen on this front. You know that every friend you make is temporary. The captain writes letters to the families. He's running out of things to say. You keep your head down. You follow orders. You don't ask questions about what happens to the Soviet prisoners. You don't think about it. You survive another year. You're promoted again. Level 3. The Unteroffizier. You're 21. You're now a squad leader. 10 men depend on your decisions. The Wehrmacht trains NCOs to think for themselves. They call it Auftragstaktik, mission-type tactics. They tell you what to accomplish, not how to do it. You make 45 Reichsmarks a month. You're responsible for keeping 10 men alive in a war that's already consumed over 1 million Germans. The new conscripts arriving from Germany are weaker than the ones who came before. Worse nutrition back home. Less training. 8 weeks instead of 16. They don't know how to dig a proper foxhole. They don't know to check their weapons for ice. You teach them. Half of them die anyway. You write letters for the men who can't write. You divide rations when there aren't enough. You decide who goes on the dangerous patrols and who stays back. You execute your first deserter behind a barn in Ukraine. The Feldgendarmerie hands you the pistol. You don't hesitate. The Reich shot 15,000 of its own soldiers during this war. Hesitation gets you added to that number. You don't sleep well anymore, but you survive. You're promoted. Level 4. The Feldwebel. You're 23. You're a Feldwebel now. Platoon Sergeant. 50 men. You're the backbone of the German infantry. In most armies, lieutenants command platoons. In the Wehrmacht, 2 out of 3 platoons are led by NCOs like you. There aren't enough officers left. They keep dying. You run everything. Training, discipline, tactics, all of it. The men call you der Spieß, behind your back, the mother hen. You handle their pay, their rations, their punishment records, their leave requests. When they die, you collect their Soldbuch and their half of the dog tag. The lieutenant commanding the platoon next to yours is 19 years old. He's been an officer for 6 weeks. He looks to you for guidance because you've survived 3 years of this. You keep him alive as long as you can. He dies at Kursk, shrapnel to the throat. You write the letter to his mother. You're recommended for officer training. You decline. Officers die faster. You've seen the numbers. But the war doesn't care what you want. Level 5. The Lieutenant. You're 24. They made you an officer anyway. The Wehrmacht needs lieutenants. The Eastern Front consumes them like ammunition. Officer candidates used to need a university qualification. Not anymore. By 1943, they just need what the Reich calls National Socialist attitude and the willingness to die. You lead a platoon, then a company. When the Hauptmann takes a bullet outside Kharkov, you're responsible for 180 men, most of them younger than you, all of them watching to see if you will get them killed. You learn to read maps. You learn to coordinate with artillery. You learn to write reports that make disasters sound like tactical withdrawals. You also learn the secret that officers don't discuss. The Wehrmacht has replaced every officer position an average of 9.2 times by 1944. 9.2. You're a placeholder, a number. The uniform is just waiting for someone else to fill it. You swore an oath to Hitler personally. Every soldier did. That oath keeps you fighting even when the maps show nothing but retreat. You're promoted again. You didn't ask for it. Level 6. The Hauptmann. You're 26. You command a company. 180 men. You're the highest-ranking officer most of them will ever personally know. You share their rations. You sleep in the same mud. The Wehrmacht does this deliberately. Builds loyalty. Officers and enlisted men eat identical food. You fight together. You die together. You write letters to families. Dozens of them. You run out of ways to say, died bravely, that don't sound like lies. Your company started the war with 200 men. By now, it's been replaced 3 times over. Same unit number, different faces. The men don't know each other's names anymore. They stopped learning them. The Eastern Front has killed 4 million Germans. You know this because you've seen it. Not statistics, bodies. You're transferred west just before the invasion at Normandy. Level 7. The Major. You're 28. You command a battalion. 800 men. You've survived longer than almost anyone who started when you did. June 6, 1944. The Allies land in Normandy. Your division loses 28 generals in the first month. Killed, wounded, captured. Rommel himself takes shrapnel to the head. You coordinate between company commanders. You request artillery support. You write reports explaining why you're retreating again. By August, your battalion is combat ineffective. More than half your men are casualties. The replacements arriving are 17-year-old Hitler youth with 1 week of training and Volkssturm conscripts older than your father. You receive orders that make no tactical sense. You follow them anyway. Generals who question Hitler's orders get relieved, or worse. You hear about the assassination attempt in July, Stauffenberg's bomb. You say nothing. 7,000 people are arrested. 5,000 are executed. The Wehrmacht replaces the military salute with the Hitler salute. You keep your hand raised. You keep following orders. Level 8. The General. You're a general major now. You command a division. 12,000 men on paper. Half that in reality. Hitler has been personally commanding the Eastern Front since December 1941. He fired 35 corps and division commanders who displeased him. The smart generals learned not to displease him. The smarter ones took cyanide. 1 German general dies every 2 weeks. You know because you count. You attend their funerals when there's enough left to bury. The war is lost. Everyone knows it. Nobody says it. Saying it is defeatism. Defeatism is death. You keep signing orders. You keep sending men forward. The machine runs itself. Level 9. The POW. May 8th, 1945. Surrender. 5.3 million German military dead. 4 million on the Eastern Front alone. 63% of them in the final 16 months. 10,000 per day by the end. The oath you swore to Hitler dies with him in a bunker. The uniform comes off. The war ends. But it doesn't end. The Soviets hold 3 million German prisoners. The last ones don't come home until 1956, 11 years after the war ended. Some of them were 19-year-old grenadiers who just wanted to survive. None of them got what they wanted. The Wehrmacht doesn't exist anymore. The ranks are gone. The oaths are dust.